Hey everybody, welcome to Electric Libertyland episode number 172. And I want to remind you before this show, a very special show, tying into the Tiger King documentary, that you can still join the Lions of Liberty Pride for as little as $5, really as $2. But at $5 and up, you get all of our bonus content, access to Do Nothing Man. I just released a brand new 30-minute Do Nothing Man episode centered around COVID. It's awesome. And not only that, if you join at $15 or up, you get our very funny collector's item Tigers of Liberty shirt with myself as Joe Exotic, with John Odermatt as Doc Antle, and Mark Claire as that bitch Carol. You do not want to miss out on that. And of course, you can join at higher levels, $25 and up. You get to join our Mufasa level. You get to be on calls with us monthly, $50 and up, which welcome Holly. We just got a new $50 a month supporter. You get to actually pick topics for the show. So go check it out, patreon.com/Lions of Liberty. And through the end of April, we are still giving 10% of all of our monies that come in through Patreon to Greg Glyer and Donor Seat to help out with his charitable endeavors to help COVID. So help us, help you, help everybody. And yeah, let's get into it.
Welcome to Electric Libertyland, here on the Lions of Liberty podcast, your weekly shot of culture, comedy, and liberty with your host, Brian McWilliams.
Welcome, everybody, to Electric Libertyland. I'm here with Joshua Dial. Do you like to go by Josh or Joshua, by the way? What do you?
Just Josh. Just Josh.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So I'm here with Josh, who, of course, has gained massive notoriety from the documentary Tiger King. And it's funny, like, you know, I was talking to Josh. I can see you've got a rainbow "Don't Tread on Me" flag in the back, which I love. Awesome.
Yeah, got that from at New Orleans at the National Convention for going to the outright Libertarian Masquerade Bowl. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. And I've got a different variety of rainbow behind me because as Josh and I were discussing, I didn't realize we were going to be doing video on the call. So I've got like a rainbow cowboy hat and a wig behind me and all sorts of other crap because I didn't clean up. But yeah, anyway, I mean, this has been an incredible, I don't even know, cultural flashpoint, this entire documentary. So, you know, there's a couple of things I want to talk about just about the documentary to start. And then I want to get into more of your politics and libertarianism and that side of things, which is obviously fascinating to me, this being a libertarian podcast, but also I think is a side of the documentary and a side of your life that I'm sure most people aren't seeing and you're not having a lot of opportunity to really talk about because most people just want to focus on what's being shown on the Netflix special.
Right.
So with that in mind, first things first, how close to reality was the documentary? You know, and again, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but just real quick, was it portrayed somewhat accurately as far as who Joe is, as far as the relationships, or was there a lot of stuff going on or a lot of personality that you didn't get to see come out?
I mean, you know, there was definitely, I mean, I know that I did, like, you know, because the way this thing worked is like Netflix did not approach me as the entity itself of Netflix did not approach me for the interview, you know, all these, you know, years ago when I started doing these interviews. They actually have like 6 or 7 interviews with me that like didn't even show up in the series. And, you know, as I say, you know, it wasn't Netflix that came to me. It was just some random guy, and he ended up selling it to someone who sold it to Netflix or something like that. But I had no idea what was going to go on. It's just been crazy, you know. I was not prepared for it. I thought it was going to be like an indie film at best, and it turned into like a national sensation. But even though it was an indie film, like I wanted to make sure that like I spread, you know, the message that, you know, this man was, you know, he was set up. And I think the documentary.
I wanted to get to that. Wait, you're getting way ahead of me now. I feel
like that's the conclusion that the documentary draws. And I mean, you asked if, you know, how close the documentary is to the truth. So, you know, I guess I'm just taking the long way of talking about it, like Yoda speaking about it. You know, I mean, you know, yeah, sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, we're talking about it now because that was one of the questions I wanted to get to is, do you think Joe was set up? I mean, I know that between the Lions of Liberty group, and also a lot of people agree with you that he was set up. I mean, obviously there's a lot out there, the videos he made and, all these posts and the crazy stuff, but it's just, the ramblings of a madman. And at the same time, who of us hasn't put out kind of crazy crap on the internet or, done things that can be taken out of context and repurposed. So you definitely think he was set up. And from what I saw in the documentary, I would agree with you in that it seems like Jeff and Alan had a perfect patsy to set up to take this away from it. So go ahead and tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's spot on. Like, I mean, everything they laid out in the documentary, it's there for everybody to see. That's why there's such a huge movement of freeing Joe. Like, I would honestly not be surprised if before the 2020 election, if the president didn't pardon Joe Exotic. I would be interested to see. I have a feeling they are running internal polling and seeing, because they want everything. Right now Biden's ahead in all the polls. Yeah, I know that don't really matter a whole lot, but because obviously 2016 taught us that the polls matter not. They're going to go again with the Yoda speak, but he might have to do something because people are pissed right now. We're all locked in our houses. Yep. I can't go anywhere or do anything, and I can't get a decent job, something more along my talent line. So while I'm out of work, I'm just working at a grocery store, and I started a day or two into it, or about 2 or 3 days into it, and I had to take a leave of absence just because it's just been so overwhelming.
I can't imagine.
Reliving all this stuff, it's just a nightmare.
Well, that's one of the things too, and we'll plug this at the end too. But I know you have a GoFundMe going, and also a Facebook fundraiser, which I'll link to in the show notes, which will be at lionsofliberty.com/ELL172. So I'll link to those so people can go and support you, because I know you're going through a lot of counseling, and obviously, I mean, watching somebody literally put a gun to their head has got to be traumatizing for anybody, no matter the circumstances. I mean, what can you tell me a little bit? And I don't want to bring up the trauma as well, but was that had to be the craziest thing you saw? But what would you say is the second craziest thing? And also, can we get a little bit more insight into the aftermath of after Travis pulled that trigger? I mean, we saw the way the documentary portrayed it, but I'm sure you have a little bit more to tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, as far as what happened, I mean, it just, he said Ruger won't fire without a clip right on the temple. And it went straight through, straight throughout the other temple into the wall. And
it looked instantaneously just gone, or was
he was like this, and it's hard to judge time, but he was just looking at me like this, his eyes open, as wide as they could be. And the blood was just, he wasn't moving with the blood, and then his head fell back like that, and then this Adam's apple started bobbing up and down, up and down, up and down, and that's when I knew for sure that it wasn't a joke, and he actually did just accidentally kill himself. I've never seen anything crazier or more horrifying than that.
Well, I mean, your face told it all. Just the look of shock that you had on your face, just sitting there, it was almost like I turned to my wife. I was watching. I was like, is it a still frame? Because you were just frozen. And obviously, I don't think anybody else would have reacted any differently. Having seen that, trying to figure out what's going on and what to do and what, just making any sense of that situation. I mean, it cut away. We couldn't see anything on the video. So, is there any other insight into what happened after that? How it was handled? The reactions of the other cast? We saw Joe was obviously broken up, but and again, I don't want to dwell on this too much because I know it's traumatic, but just to get a little bit more insight would be great.
Well, there was a debate between, it was a argument between me and Eric Cowie, who was in the documentary. Eric was the one who went in there and took the gun out of Travis's hand, and threw it on the floor because I guess he still had a grip on it. And said there was a clip in it, and I told the police there wasn't a clip on it because he took the clip out, put it on the desk. I remember that much.
That's so bizarre that the guy's like 101. You don't touch the body or the gun. I mean, what is this guy thinking?
Yeah, and everyone was just shocked. I mean, like I've seen gruesome stuff. Like I've seen I've seen the awful stuff back in the 2000s, mid 2000s, when the terrorists were were beheading reporters, and those videos were going around. Seen stuff like that. Actually seen someone live on Fox News once. It was Shepard Smith. I'll never forget it, but it wasn't traumatizing. It was a car chase, and the guy got out, and Fox News didn't have it on a delay. And live on television, it showed the guy pop and drop. I mean, just dead. And Shepard Smith cut away and had to make a full, big apology. I mean, I'm sure you could probably still look it up.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, all that is nothing compared to what it was just to be 5 feet away from it,
Yeah.
And to have to go in that next day and the day after that and the day for a year and a half to that same office, to that same desk. They never even covered up the bullet hole.
God,
they never gave me a day off to go get counseling. They never gave me any funds to help me get counseling. It's just a wound that's just festered in my soul and my heart. People are given, and people are just, people have been so supportive, but also people are just being so mean. I mean, I don't understand what's so hard about, mainly it's just people, ragging on me for raising money. Raising money through contributions from private individuals and companies is the way that libertarians should do things. We don't go to the government for checks. We don't go. And honestly, even if I wasn't a libertarian, I wouldn't want to go to the free mental health clinic because it's substandard care. Mm-hmm. And there's a 3-4 month waiting list I know of. It's ridiculous.
I think people presume automatically. Well, number one, I can't believe, the fact that I didn't know you went back for a year and a half after that. It's a little bit hard to figure out the timeline in the documentary as it's presented. So I didn't realize you were still working for a year and a half after that happened, which is insane. Yeah. I can't imagine going back. It's like a rape.
Probably closer to a year, but
the rape for a year.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, for sure. And, people just, it's just, people are just so cruel, I don't see what, people, I will compare it to coronavirus testing. Right now, the COVID-19, people have commented that all the rich people are getting tested and getting, and us regular folk might have it and we can't get the test, or we get the test and it takes months to get it back. It's because they have money. Mm-hmm. Just as in all things, the more money you have, the better quality care you will get. And that's why I have Jess Mears and Chrissy. They both are good friends of mine.
Oh, I didn't know. You're friends with Jess Mears? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and her and Chrissy were actually the ones that put the GoFundMe together for me, because I've never done anything like this before. Because it took a while for me to even realize I needed help, mm-hmm. But I've had this just dark cloud over my head for all this time. Yeah. Ever since it happened, however long it's been, 2.5 years ago, maybe, I don't know, 2 years ago. It's just I should be able to recall that. I need good professional help. And I don't feel like I'm obligated to tell people what I'm taking on meds, No,
definitely not. It's your Christ. That's why we don't want the government getting involved in healthcare. Your health privacy is your purview and no one else's. But also, as you said, it's a good point. I think people presume that you're making all this money off of this doc, which isn't the case. No. It's there's people making a lot of money off it. It doesn't mean that you're one of those people. And, it's crazy to presume that. And yeah, you need help. And we're in the middle of a global pandemic, number one. And number two, having gotten this level of fame, it can be more difficult to get a job. So yeah, man, we gave you some cash. I encourage everybody out there to help out.
I appreciate that.
And I know, cash is tight for everybody right now, but there's definitely people out there that have money. So please share. And this is the way to share with a fellow libertarian. And, let's transition into talking a little bit more about the libertarian aspect of this. So are you still, you've got the Joe Tread on me, and obviously Jess Mears is helping you. I was going to say, are you still strongly libertarian in your views? Have you dabbled with any Bernieisms or anything like that
I briefly decided to take a job with a Democratic candidate. as people probably could have seen if they scrolled through my Facebook. But I mean, I'm a political operative. I mean, but at the end of the day, when I go into the voting booth and the ballot box, I'm going to vote Libertarian no matter what. Yeah. I am a paid member of the National Party. I don't have my card. Like,
I saw you were a delegate. You had the delegate sticker.
Yeah, I was. I was a delegate.
Are you planning on going to the convention? By the way, if they have it.
I don't have the funds. And then my fiance, he's disabled. He's just got a little. He was born with fetal alcohol syndrome. So, I couldn't just leave him here. I mean, he's not by no means is he like crippled or anything. I'm not saying that at all. But I just wouldn't. It take, two people, and it's just too much, just too much. I work at a grocery store, and I mean, I'm on a leave of absence right now anyways, because this is just too much. And I go in public and I cannot even do my regular, easy work, easy money job because of the people recognizing me and just bringing this up to me while I'm trying to just like wanting to go back to my life, So
I think you have to hope that this turns into a Star Trek style scenario where, 20 years from now, you won't get the benefit now, but 20 years from now, you'll be able to sit at a table and there'll be people coming up dressed as you, and you'll be able to sign their thing for $50.
I fear though, I'm more since I am a Star Wars fan and not a Star Trek fan, it'll be more like Star Wars, and we're going to have to wait like 30 years. And even at the end, they're going to fuck it up real bad.
You're going to get the J.J. Abrams Tiger King treatment.
Yeah.
They're talking about casting the movie and all that. And you'll get the J.J. Abrams version. I
want Mark Ruffalo to play me.
Oh, yeah. I'd say that's what I'm talking about.
Mark Ruffalo. Yes,
I like it. But he's such a leftist dick, though.
He is. But I mean, like, he's also very active in the LGBTQ community, and I am, a gay man. So, I think a lot of people can see from, I mean, I'm not a hardliner libertarian, but I mean, like I said before, I am a dues paying member. I switched, for, one, maybe 2 months, for a job
related. Yeah, exactly, man. If it's a job, look, I'm a libertarian, and I'm like I'm a staunch libertarian, anarcho-capitalist libertarian. But at the same time, I do public relations for a living. I literally was working for the Chinese government.
Yeah,
literally. So, I mean, look, a job's a job, man. I was promoting an economic event they had. A job's a job. It doesn't mean it changes who you are as a person. As you said, at the end of the day, you're going to the booth, you're voting libertarian, your core values are libertarian.
And I'm paying those dues.
Exactly right, man. And the LP needs them. So tell me a little bit about you're a political science major. How did you get to be Joe Exotic's campaign manager? And tell me about his views. I mean, were they just overlapping in libertarianism as, he just wants to be left alone, and he's, and gay rights obviously plays prominent to libertarian values. We've always championed gay rights. I mean, how did his intersection with libertarianism work? Did you bring him to that, or did he choose that and bring you in? How did that whole thing work out?
So I was in between jobs, and I actually didn't go to the zoo with the intention of getting a job. I didn't even know he was wanting a campaign manager. I'd lived in Paul's Valley, which is 7 miles north of the zoo, for 28 years of my life, and I'd never been to that zoo all 28 years of my life. So at the age of 28, I decided, what the hell, because I'd already known Joe from the community, seeing him in various places, seeing him in the store and stuff. And he had ran for president previously. So, I always talk to him because I have respect for any elderly, or, he'd kill me if he knew I was calling him elderly.
Pretty old.
But any elder, gay man or any LGBTQ individual who's, especially when they're older, I just have a ton of respect for them, especially when they were out back when in the 80s, during the AIDS crisis, when, or even further back than that. So that's where my initial even drive to want to go to the zoo was, or even approach Joe and talk to him about politics. And, he just got to know me, in the public when we met, every time we talk politics, and he liked what I had to say about, about libertarian ideas. And when I went to the zoo that one day, I said, I'm in between jobs. And he said, oh, well, I'm looking for a campaign manager. I said, oh, well, where are you running for? He said, well, I'm running for governor. I said, okay. And he's, told me kind of some of the details, and I told him, I said, I'd take the job. Next day I started, and I worked 18 hours that day.
Damn.
Yeah.
Just trying to get everything organized and in shape. I mean, what was
the whole job was 6 days a week. I got 1 day off a week, and every day was a minimum of 12 hours, sometimes longer. Yeah.
But I'm sure he didn't pay you well. Did he pay you in the Walmart meat?
No, yeah. Yeah.
Meat.
No, we'd be lucky to get the good stuff, because what he'd do is take the stuff that looked the best up to the restaurant.
Yeah.
And like make hamburgers and steaks with it. So like we just got actually what was left over from the meat truck being raided to go put, because the pizzas, everyone says the pizza restaurant. No, the pizza restaurant was never actually meat truck food. That was actually like stuff he bought from a pizza restaurant here in Oklahoma. I can't remember the name of
the documentary did not clarify that. They let everybody just gotta surmise and take their own guess.
It's only at the Safari Bar, which was the bar he owned north of the zoo, that he'd put all the food up there. It was, all the food was old. Only thing fresh was like the buns, and like sometimes not even the vegetables on them stuff, because they get produce shipments too. There's a meat truck, but there's also a produce truck.
Oh, wow.
Lettuce,
I didn't realize that.
Onions, tomatoes, all that kind of stuff. So you go into the restaurant, the only thing that you're eating that is actually safe on a burger with everything on it is like the bread, if you're lucky.
God.
So
if anything, the fucking vegetation is probably more dangerous. That's it. You get like salmonella more than anything, right?
Right.
God damn, that's disgusting. Well, tell me a little bit about running his campaign. And then I want to talk about, we'll talk a little bit more about what you said about, fuck the feds, obviously, was hilarious and unexpected. I mean, that's one of the things with this documentary.
Said it 2 more times last night.
Oh, yeah, baby. All right, you guys, you may not be familiar with that music. I'm hoping you are, but that is the intro music for the System Is Down podcast. Now, you heard me talk about the Lions of Liberty / Tigers of Liberty shirt. The design for that was done by none other than Dan Smots of The System Is Down, the host of that show, our favorite in-house graphic designer, and also one of our favorite supporters. He's been one of our long time listeners. Actually was inspired to start his own podcast from listening to the Lions of Liberty. Dan and I actually collaborate to do our reviews for Rick and Morty recaps, all of our South Park recaps. He's also a part of the Legion of Liberty Doom, a Patreon show that he does for his subscribers and we do for ours with me, John Odermatt, Howie Snowden, Remzo Martinez, and Dan. Guys, you got to check this podcast out. I'm telling you, it's awesome. Dan has no fear. And I swear to God, it's interesting because he's libertarian, but the show encompasses more than just that. So he's coming up from a libertarian standpoint. He loves to play devil's advocate on the show, but he has no topic that's not taboo. And we've got our Patreon show, Conspiracy Corner, going into all the different underground theories. He makes that a central component of a lot of his episodes. But on top of that, he's going into a lot of libertarian philosophy. He's having people that were former Yang and Bernie staffers on that joined Vermin Supreme's campaign now. He's been talking about the Corey Feldman documentary. He's talking about, he's had Bill Clinton's former rape accuser on, just like we have. You got to listen to the System Is Down podcast. Make it a priority ad in your podcast feed. I promise you, you will not regret it. And tell Dan that I sent you, goddammit, because someone's going to give me the feels. Won't it be you? All right, guys, check that out. System Is Down podcast. I saw that. Yeah, I just watched you on the Joel McHale special episode, which I watched today because it just came out. And it's perfect. We're talking. And I love the double down because a lot of our listeners, they had said, we'll ask him about, the dabbling with the Democrat side, which you addressed very early on, which is great. And then I said, Joel had asked you about fuck the feds. You doubled down on it, which I loved. So let's talk a little bit about that. And also, this COVID stuff going on, has that made your stance stronger in fuck the feds, or have you drawn it back? Because there are some libertarians that are saying these are the right measures that are being taken. And there are others that are saying, fuck you, fuck that in general.
Well, I'm not an anarchist. I'm a pragmatist. As far as where I fall on the caucus spectrum or whatever you want to say.
Yep.
coming from the Democrats, obviously I'm a little bit of a left libertarian, but as far as fiscal matters and economic matters go, I'm just about as far right as you can go. On the libertarian spectrum, that is, of course. Yeah. Before you go into the extremes. So I've got just kind of a unique perspective. And, running Joe's campaign at first, it was odd, because he wouldn't let me do nothing. And it wasn't until a few months into it when Travis killed himself, and Joe suddenly broke down, and all of a sudden, Joe was not. I had to be strong for Joe because he lost his husband.
Yeah.
No one was there to be strong for me, but that's all right. I was there to be strong for him, so that was part of the job. But when that happened, I was able to put it to the back of my head, because all of a sudden I was in charge of what he said at debates, and we were starting to go to debates, and he would talk about simple stuff that people here in Oklahoma eat up. Like, you go, if we have a house next to each other, and I pay to dig a hole, put water in it, and pay to put fish in it, you would have to pay for a license to the state of Oklahoma just to come fish in my pond that I paid to dig and I paid to put fish in. Is that right? If you think that is wrong, then maybe you should be a libertarian. Stuff like that.
Yeah, that's good positioning, man. I mean, it's really interesting to hear, like you talk local level stuff, because that's what definitely,
it's all local.
Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit more about that. Because I didn't realize I wasn't sure how far he got in. I saw the documentary, because we're going from ignorance, it's just what the documentary shows us was what we know. So we saw him kind of walk in the streets campaigning, but didn't really see a lot of that, debate footage. I mean, how was he in debates? How was your job prepping him for debates? Was he easy to work with as far as he'd say these things and he'd do it, or was he a huge pain in the ass?
So on debates or forums that we'd have, he had a limo. It was a campaign limo. I had Joe. I'm sure y'all saw it probably. Yeah. I'd always sit at the far back seat, and he'd always sit at the far front seat. And there was a DVD players installed in the limo, and he had every season of Criminal Minds on DVD. So I'd have my notebook, and I'd be doing last minute prep, trying to be like, "Hey Joe, blah blah blah," and he would just ignore me. And his bad habit was he always chew on his coke nail like this,
yeah,
all the time. And I'd be like, "Joe, let's go over what the governor said today, or what the lieutenant governor who was running, at the time on a Republican ticket. Let's talk about what the lieutenant governor said, or let's talk, at the time we were in a 3-way libertarian primary.
Yeah, I saw that.
For governor. Yeah, we had 2 other good folks though. Rex Lawhorn and Chris Powell. Chris Powell's actually got elected here in Oklahoma to city council.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Shit. Chris Powell's actually one of a handful of elected libertarians here in Oklahoma now. And he did, along with a handful of other candidates, get enough to ensure that we maintain ballot access.
Awesome.
So in the end, it worked out. But something I want to point out to any of your, a lot of the folks out there, is kind of take a look at the 3-way primary. You had Chris Powell, who was more of a pragmatist like myself. You had Rex Lawhorn, who's more of a radical, and on the radical spectrum. And then you have Joe Exotic, who doesn't belong, or maybe you could have someone who does belong, but a Joe Exotic type character. That brought out, even though our party was really small at the time, only 4,500 libertarians, we had 3,500 people come out and vote. The voter turnout was impressive. And that's because there was, I feel like partially it was because we had someone that threatened our principles of our party, and it encouraged people who maybe aren't paying their dues, or maybe aren't going to the convention, or maybe aren't even registered, to get out, register, and go vote, and make sure that these people do not come in and wreck our party. The key is you have to have a campaign manager or campaign staff, hopefully, that is able to steer the ship when it goes off course, because that's the best you can hope for a Donald Trump type candidate like that. So that's kind of how campaigning went. Towards the end, around December through June, I took on the role of photography, videography, video editing. I did all his photos. I did all the Zoo's tour photos and promo photos.
Now, that's one way, man. If you still have those and they are your property, that's what you should look to monetize, because I guarantee you can find somebody to buy those photos and those behind the scenes videos off you to help fund your hopefully your treatments, and also far more.
I mean, only really good cat pictures I have are already on my Facebook, and I mean, I put them on there a long time ago, way before I knew that Netflix was going to buy this, and there would be a global pandemic. You know,
I know the perfect world. Environment for people to be shut in and have one thing to watch and just get sucked in, right?
And you know, like, I'm not making any money right now. You know, some douchebag reported my GoFundMe. It won't allow anyone, like, it won't stop anyone from donating. So go ahead and please donate. But I can't withdraw anything out of it. And then I think someone probably did the same thing with the Facebook fundraiser, because nothing's come out of that. So, you know, not working. I have joined Cameo. So if I just want to let everybody know, just look up Tiger King on Cameo. You can download the app. And, you know, you can get me to give you guys a shout out, say fuck the feds to your boss, or whatever you want me to do. Awesome. Answer behind the scenes questions. I am doing that. So, I mean, that's what I'm doing to pay the rent for, like, the roof over my head, you know, the car insurance. And so, you know, like, you know, I'm not living in destitution. It's just, I'm not getting the care I need because people are being so mean that, you know, and then I tried to put my Venmo and my Cash App and stuff out there so I could get more immediate care, but, like, the backlash was just so harsh that I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
You know, because that money comes to me immediately. I don't have to wait like I've been waiting, you know, weeks to get this stuff. And I can go to the doctor. Like, it's, for instance, I'm off tomorrow. If I was able to withdraw my cash from either of my fundraisers, I could have the opportunity to, you know, go. You know, I go back to work on Tuesday from my leave of absence if I'm you know, deemed well enough. So I'm just hoping that, you know, folks will reach out and help me, you know, get the funds I need to go to the doctor, you know, and get, you know, I haven't seen a doctor since I have done this.
Yeah. That's insane.
Like,
that is God.
Like,
well, hopefully this is your therapy. Am I helping at all?
Well, I hope it has been. That's why I do it. But I also do it because people deserve to know the truth, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of people have been, you know, really interested in my story, and I wanted to get it out there for people.
Well, what other, you know,
misconceptions?
What other truths do you think need to be told about this? And I know we're trying to keep this about 45 minutes, but we have about 15 minutes. So there's a couple of the things I wanted to ask you, but before that, tell me, you know, what are some of the truths that you think haven't been told adequately that you saw or that you'd want to talk about?
Well, I would say this, at least for the time that I worked for Joe for the gubernatorial campaign, the only drug I ever saw him take was a THC gummy that was about that tall.
Oh, wow.
You know,
okay.
Just little bitty THC gummy. That was it. That was it.
How was Joe as a person? I mean, it seems like, and this is interesting. I actually took the Tiger King model of Joe running because it looked like he, you know, you're not in this because you're a professional, but a lot of the staff working for him were kind of people that had been thrown to the wayside by society or that couldn't find jobs. And it was interesting to see how he would take these people in, and they did seem to have quite a bit of loyalty to him and a lot of love for him, even though they weren't making, you know, these full wages, but he was giving them food, he was giving them housing, he was giving them opportunity. And I was looking to myself, and I live in Los Angeles, you know, our homeless population is probably bigger than the city you live in right now. You know, it's absurd. And I'm looking at the Joe Exotic model of, hey, I'm going to give you a place to live. You know, I wouldn't be opposed to corporations building dorms and having people work in there and having a little bit of spending money and giving them food and giving them shelter and even giving them healthcare. I mean, was that, it just seemed like the loyalty was there with these people that had nowhere else to go. And did you feel that a lot, or was there some underlying resentment that didn't come through as much?
No, I mean, he was a good man, you know, in the sense of taking care of people, you know. You know, he Like he had a sex offender one time, even working and living there. I mean, like he would let anybody in that would work. Now, when he worked us, he'd work us like dogs. He was mean.
Right.
He was cruel. He was not nice. He was not kind. But he did kind things for people, and he took care of people. And I think the reason he was so mean while working was, a lot of people will say, well, he was only mean because he wanted to make sure that people were extra cautious around the animals so that they didn't get hurt. But I didn't work around the animals a lot. I worked in the office, and he was mean to me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, where's the excuse now? I mean, so I don't know why he was so cruel to his employees. I think he knew he had everyone by the balls.
Maybe
he
so,
wasn't quite as mean to me, and he always treated me with much more respect than any of the other employees, except for Rinky and maybe Eric. But that was because he needed me. He was running as a libertarian. I'm the only libertarian that in Oklahoma that would have been willing to do that. And he needed me. So, it was a little different with our relationship.
Yeah.
But it was not a healthy one for sure.
It didn't seem like any of the relationships were healthy. It was a lot of, I think you hit the nail on the head. It seemed like even though he had helped these people in a lot of ways, there was a very symbiotic relationship. And, Travis obviously had a massive drug problem. I think, was it John had a drug problem, but then he said he had stopped using drugs, at least in the latest episode, which is good. And then also just, he said a lot of these people had nowhere else to go. So would you say that Joe was an opportunistic user of people, or just that this is just kind of the way it worked out? He saw his opportunities and he wasn't intentionally trying to take advantage of people, but it just kind of came part and parcel with where a lot of these people were when he found them.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just a little of both. It's just a little of both, I mean, he'd just take talent where he could get it. I mean, there were several people that would come and go. And usually he would get rid of the real good people that had a good head on their shoulders before they got fixed on what was actually going on around there. In my case, like I said before, he simply needed me. So he, chose to confide in me, his secrets and stuff. Not all of them, of course. Everything that he confided in me is basically out there in public. Other than a few like really gross, grotesque things that I'd rather not talk about.
Perversions of a sexual nature. I won't pry.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
I figured. I won't get into that as much as I want to. I know you probably don't want to get into it. Actually, I'll save these funny. I have a couple funny questions to wrap up with to end on a high note. But you already said that, as you talked about earlier, that we both agree that Joe got set up. So is there any other insight into, Jeff and Alan, these two shady guys? Did you see the interactions there? I mean, Alan especially seems like just a shady individual who you could definitely believe would kill somebody, even though he clearly didn't. So what was that like dealing with those two shady characters?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely are shady. They definitely are. And it's intimidating. It's even intimidating now. I mean, I'm even now scared that someone, maybe Jeff was going to send, Alan Glover to, shoot me or something.
Yeah. Or his sexy assassin nanny from Russia or wherever he brought her in from.
Whatever. Yeah. I mean, and, God forbid I started GoFundMe to, get some self-protection because I don't got a gun. I mean, fuck.
And hard to get one now. So I'm waiting. I don't have a gun yet, and I'm like literally on a waiting list to get a gun because with this madness going on, my cars both my cars got broken into like last night. I woke up this morning, went outside, and found that both my cars were ransacked. So I'm like, all right, how many days until I get my gun? But hopefully things aren't as bad as you are. Yeah,
no, not so bad.
No. Okay, so let's have some more of the uplifting questions because this has been really fun. By the way, I really appreciate you coming on.
Sure thing.
Joe and singing. Was he really singing? We're hearing these songs.
Yeah.
It can't be, right?
No, unfortunately, I possessed video of that photo shoot. If you look at my Facebook page when you're going to donate to my Facebook fundraiser, you can stop by and look at some of the behind the scenes stuff I posted. I have a bunch more of it. I'm going to be posting just in regular intervals.
Awesome, yeah.
And because the thing was, I was just campaign manager, so every time there was a good photo, I'd take my phone out and I'd snap the photo.
So what was it like though? Would he record his version of this song and then send it off to somebody else to re-record it later and send it back, type of thing?
He would just what we did when we went into the recording studio, because I actually recorded one of the videos. It never got released, but I did record and do a video. Cool. Yeah. And it just disappeared when he went on the run. But it was a dedication song to Travis called Travis and Me. Mm-hmm. And like, he could not sing. So what I was supposed to do was like video, but not like, video it. And then we would have someone else sing it for him, sing the song, write the song and sing the song. And then he would buy the rights to make that under his name,
Interesting. How much money do you think?
No idea. No idea. Probably an astronomical amount.
He had like 4 albums, right? Or
more. Something like that. DVD combos. Yeah.
Oh God, the amount of money he must have spent on that shit is just mind-boggling. So you mentioned now. I got one serious question, then back to a funny question to end it. Okay. You said now you were trying to just trying to kill time at a grocery store. So what do you want to do now? Like once we get this past you, once Tiger King mania has died down a little bit more, once you gotten the treatment that you need to get past the trauma that you've experienced because of Travis's death, what do you want to do? Do you want to remain in politics, or do you want to try something different? Like, what's your goal?
I think politics. I really think politics is where I want to go back to eventually. I just need to be able to get well. Yeah. Do some easy work for a while.
You need to get well to go back into the slum hole madness that is the political arena.
Yeah. I just feel like, I just need a little bit more time of living a simple life. And this documentary has been an excellent opportunity. Now the world knows what happened to me. So now I actually have an opportunity and a platform to be able to get the help I need. Yeah. So, this documentary has been both a blessing and a curse, the curse because of the trauma that it's, re-inflicted in me, but the curse, a blessing because people are starting to, donate. We're, I think $4,000 away from our goal in GoFundMe. And I think about 3,000 away from our Facebook one. Yep. And that's it. That's it. By then, I'll have been employed long enough with this folks, I'll qualify for health insurance. It's a good company. I'm not allowed to say exactly what company, but it's a good company. And they have great health insurance. So that's good. I've just got 90 more days or so. And then obviously what a lot of this is going to have to go to is treatment, but in between those 90 days, but also I'm hoping to do in raising what I'm raising. In addition to doing the cameos, is be able to pay off my deductibles immediately when I do start my insurance in 90 days. That way I'm able to do it on my own, because this ain't going to last forever. Yeah. I didn't make anything from Netflix. Netflix itself never cut me a check for nothing. I'm just, living in a cheap 1-bedroom apartment, cheapest we have in Stillwater. Just me and my fiance and our little puppy. I'm just a normal guy, trying to spread liberty out, and I just got caught up on all this,
Yeah. Well, by the way, speaking of liberty, who do you support for president as far as the Libertarian Party goes? Do you have a favorite?
I'm not prepared to announce, but I did give a few calls. Yeah, I'm not prepared to announce.
All right, well, you can keep that idea. But when you do announce,
never thought I'd have to say that. Yeah, I never thought I'd have to say that.
Yeah, it's funny, man. Well, when you do, let me know.
I saw some internet poll, which of course I know it's fun. It's just an internet poll, but I thought it was fun. It kind of lifted my spirits. It's like, who do you want for president? And I was like number 2 or something like that.
By the way, Do you have a Twitter account? Yeah, Vermin Supreme. I met him. I was hanging out with him at the Libertarian convention in California. He's a good dude.
Yeah, I'd love to get with Vermin Supreme and meet with him. I think he's a cool guy. I'd like to see what he has to offer.
Yeah,
he's like he's cool. Running a real legitimate campaign. Like he's serious about it. So more power to him.
It's interesting. Like he hit a hashtag. We're in on the joke. Because he's got a boot on his fucking head after all. But I thought it was an interesting thing to raise awareness. It's one of those. It's the question mark, and you go, okay, is it to run him out there? Is it good as a brand builder to get people interested, or is it doing more harm than good? Is always the question. But in this year, this election cycle, we're not going to win shit anyway. So maybe it's when you say, let's just get as much awareness as we can, and see what happens.
This year, everyone loses. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Everyone loses.
Yep.
Doesn't matter what you LRID. Don't matter which of those letters you got on your card. You lose. Sorry.
Yeah, precisely. All right. One last question. Actually, two things. Do you have a Twitter account? Because I couldn't find one looking earlier.
Oh, I do, but
don't really use it much.
I just don't have I just don't really use it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the toxicity. You have enough people being assholes to you as is, so the Twitter would just add to it. So tell people
Facebook is hard enough for sure.
Oh God, yeah. Well, so tell people where they can find you. Facebook. Tell them about again the fundraisers, Facebook fundraiser, GoFundMe, which is GoFundMe.com/counseling for Joshua, counseling-for-Joshua-dial. And again, I'll link to all of these on the show notes page at lionsofliberty.com/ELL172. But where else? You've got a Facebook page that people can find you at, and you'll accept their friendship if they have a libertarian moniker. Hopefully, they say they met you through Lions of Liberty.
I'm actually maxed out on the friends. I've got 5 friends, but find me on Facebook, Joshua Dial. You can still follow me. I'm the Joshua Dial with a picture of me and my fiance and a map of Middle Earth as the header. Shout out to Tolkien fans. If I'd have got to choose my major, it would have been Tolkien studies.
Tolkienism.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
But I am on Cameo. So if you want me to give a shout out, like I said before, say fuck the feds, your friends, or you want some like behind the scenes questions you want me to answer, or say happy birthday or whatever, you can look me up. Just look up Joshua Dial Tiger King on Cameo. And then I do have a Facebook fundraiser, like I said before. That's only got like 6 days on it, I think, before it's over with, and we're quite a ways from our goal. So I just appreciate everyone helping me out. I really want to give a great shout out to all my libertarian family that's helped me through this time. I know if I was in another party, I would not be getting this kind of help. Everyone would just be saying, go to the government. And, it's so nice that people understand, it's such a good group of people that we have in our party. And it's really brought the best out of a lot of people, the worst out of a bunch, but the best out of most. So I would just say, remember, if you ever have a chance to have a national platform or a platform at all, if a camera is rolling, don't be afraid to sneak some libertarianism in there.
Yeah, man.
Because you never know when it's going to get sold to Netflix. A global pandemic happens and everyone in the country watches it.
Exactly. All right. One more question and then that's it. This is a doozy. Fuck, marry, kill, right? You know this game?
Do what?
Do you know? Okay, you know the game Fuck, Marry, Kill? You fuck one, you marry one, you kill one?
Oh, okay. No, I guess I do now.
All right. Here's your choices. Fuck, marry, kill, Joe Exotic, that bitch Carol, or a tiger, and a tiger. Those are your choices. Which one you want? Which one are you doing? This is the high-level questions that we get from our fans.
Fuck, kill, and what else?
You gotta you fuck one, you marry one, and you kill one. And you got Joe Exotic, that bitch Carol, or a tiger. And you have to assign which one.
Oh, I killed Joe Exotic because he's a dead man anyways. Okay. I'd fuck the tiger because they're both gross, and the tiger would be the cutest and best looking thing, as long as it's a male tiger. Yeah. No, that's a joke. That's a joke, people. Okay, and I'd marry Carol Baskin because she's got the money.
Yeah,
You know?
damn well right she does. I think,
Yeah,
I think you said it too.
And yes, I am brave enough to do it. If I smell one whiff of sardine oil, I'm bouncing out.
Awesome. I think that's a perfect way to end the interview. Josh, this has been a joy. I thank you so much for coming on. I'd love to have you back on down the road sometime too, if you're game after this is all blown over and you have some more time. So really, thank you so much. And
thank you guys.
Yeah, man, we're going to help you in any way we can. So,
all right.
Talk to you soon.
Have a good one.
All right. Thanks, bud. So there you go. There is Joshua Dial. I hope that cleared up some issues that libertarians had with him, the confusion over whether or not he has ditched the party. Clearly, the answer to that is no. And yeah, great guy. I really enjoyed talking to Josh. Now, one thing, the Facebook fundraiser, we're talking about how people are mean and douchebags. So some assholes, I guess, reported and kiboshed the Facebook fundraiser. They submarined it. So do not go there. Instead, go to his GoFundMe page. It's easy. Just type in Joshua Dial GoFundMe. It'll come right up. And I donated $50 myself to that. So hope you'll do the same. Help this guy out. As you can imagine, I mean, I can't even seeing somebody shoot themselves in the head, then going back to work every day for a year and a half and not taking a break. I can understand a guy needs a little bit of help going through that trauma, especially as it's become the most talked about thing in life outside of COVID right now. So help him out. Guys, you know how else you can help us out? You can help us out by sharing this show. Please tell your friends. If you see Libertarian podcasts being discussed on Reddit or on Facebook forums, share our show, please. This is obviously a great one to share. But just in general, we're doing 3 shows a week every week. We've been doing more than that now. Mark, of course, with his flagship show, the Lions of Liberty podcast, every Monday talking to leaders in the libertarian movement. He just had on the head of Praxis to talk about different ways of education and learning at home that are outside of our government statism school system of brainwashing. I, of course, am here every Wednesday giving you the sweet ass yelling and screaming, the ranting and raving on the current events and comedy and culture and all that good shit, as well as John Odermatt on Fridays with Felony Fridays. Arguably our most important show, looking at the criminal justice system, real stories from people that have been in the prison system, that are helping those get out of the prison system, and much, much more. So again, support us, support Josh, and we will talk to you very soon. So for me, Brian McWilliams from the Lions of Liberty and from Electric Libertyland, always stay plugged in to Liberty.